You know, right action. I was recently reading some stories of King Arthur. I don't suppose people in India normally read those stories, but it always amused me how these young knights would meet each other, and whereas today we would greet each other with a handshake or a namaskar or something, they would haul off and smite one another and try to kill each other. Seems like a very strange way to behave. But I suppose they thought it was their duty. Well, it would never have been mine. I simply wouldn't see any point in it. I remember this story of an American who was challenged to a duel by a Frenchman in France. And the American, therefore, being challenged, had the right to decide on what weapons they would use. So he chose apple pie at 10 paces. I've always enjoyed that. Why get involved in other people's concept of what is honor? Your honor should be your integrity, but to many people it's what people think of you. That's no honor, that's feeding the ego. We have to get rid of that. So when we fight, and we must fight, as Krishna says, strong-armed Arjuna, we must fight in such a way as to demolish our delusions, to demolish our attachments and desires. And so Krishna is saying, O mighty armed Arjuna, thus cognizing the indwelling divine self as superior to intellect and understanding, discipline your lower self, the ego, by dwelling in the true self, and thereby overcome the foe, who, wearing the armor of desire, is ever difficult to conquer. Now he's saying, discipline yourself by dwelling in that true self. This is the point I'm trying to make that Krishna is making here, that you must dwell in the thought that this is not you. I am not this, I am not that, I am He. So the more you feel yourself, and this you can do all the time because the world is constantly giving you reminders that you are this ego, whether by flattery, whether by insults, whether by asking you what you think you want to do, whether by asking you what you can do best. You're always being reminded of your ego. Therefore, it's a very fine practice always to remain centered in the self and to say, He is the doer, I am not the doer. He is the person desiring, not I. Give even your desires and your faults to Him. Say, it's all you, God. And He likes that. He likes it if you give Him the blame for having made a mistake. It's not that He likes it, what I mean by that, but my guru used the word likes, and I think it's sort of cute. But it's not literally true. It's not that He likes anything or dislikes anything. But He does like it from this point of view, that if you give Him even the blame for the wrongs that you have done, then you free yourself from that conviction that you did do wrong. Yogananda was at a big Christian rally of thousands of people with Amy Semple McPherson one time. And at one point she cried out, "You're all sinners, get down on your knees!" And my guru said afterwards, I was the only person standing because I would not accept that I am a sinner. He used to say that to call yourself as a sinner is the worst fault, the worst sin. You must understand that you are in yourself perfect and keep that affirmation because it's so difficult. People are always, if somebody were to tell you that you are the perfect soul, you'd say, me? But you are. You have to realize that beneath this me, beneath this person who thinks that he is separate, there is that infinite self which is in all beings. So practice it this way also. When you see somebody else, then think in terms of his being you. Feel identified. Concentrate in your heart and feel his heart, and feel his disturbances, his sufferings, his pain, his joys, all of these things. Feel them as your own. Make a deliberate practice. You can understand people much better from your heart than you can from your intellect. And when you see somebody who's suffering, don't jump in the river and drown with him. You can reach out and pull him to shore, but identify with him. Identify with his suffering in the sense that you feel that suffering in yourself, and then you want to overcome that suffering. So with the pains that people go through, feel those pains. To get rid of your ego, feel that you are the one who is united with everybody, that you are not the one separate from people, you are one with all. The more you develop that, but the ego is so difficult. You do a good job. Let's say you do a good painting. That was pretty good, wasn't it? Well, there's nothing harmful in that. There's nothing wrong with knowing that it's a good painting. You can be aware and not be conceited. But the important thing is always, and make a deliberate practice, because your mind will constantly pull you down by saying, well, I did it. I'm pretty good, aren't I? No, absolutely refuse always, at every moment, to feel you were the doer. He is the doer. This in the most trivial things. That's why I said that even when you make a mistake, give him that say that he was the one who did it through you, and then gradually you will feel that he is the one acting in all ways through you. But ego can come in so many different disguises. Even when you're eating a meal. Oh, I like this meal. Well, that I is the thought of ego. It isn't the soul that enjoys the good meal, it's your ego. Therefore, it's good to pray before eating, to remind yourself, God is eating this meal through me. When you go walking, try to tell yourself, God is walking through me. When you smile, feel that it's God who is smiling through me. There's so many different smiles that people can express. The belly laugh of a sensual person, and the calming smile of a person whose consciousness is centered here, and the joyful smile that comes when somebody who's centered here. All of these things, but the smile itself, if you give to him that feeling that he is smiling through you, he is eating through you, it is a discipline that you must exercise every moment of your life if you want to achieve this freedom. Don't just sort of every now and then touch ground as you're bouncing along the countryside. Have your feet on the ground all the time. And that ground in this case means not the physical ground of this earth, but that grounding in spirit that is truly you. So whatever you do, just feel that God is acting through me. And when you get excited, well, he's the one getting excited, and so you withdraw. And when you see a beautiful sunset, don't allow yourself to think, I'm enjoying it, but always feel it's with his joy that I'm enjoying it. Give that joy to him. Give that pain to him. And you will see that in all your friendships too, actually they will become enlightened. You'll have wonderful friends that way, but if it's all on an ego level, then you will slip and fall many times. If you feel that these are my friends in him, these are not my enemies because they are part of me in him. There was somebody who came to me many years ago. He considered himself my enemy. And he spent more than an hour telling me all my faults as he conceived them, as he perceived them. And I didn't say anything. I thought it was useless talking to him and arguing, so I just remained silent. And when he left, I thanked him and let it be. But afterwards, I found that energy, and this is what happens too, that when your energy is going in the right direction, it will withdraw automatically from the wrong and go in the right. So in the right direction, this energy became suddenly a song. It is one of the most beautiful songs, I think, that have come through me. Though green summer fade and winter draw near, my Lord, in your presence I live without fear. Through tempest, through snows, through turbulent tide, the touch of your hand is my strength and my guide. I ask for no treasures that death can destroy. I crave only thee, your love and your joy. I ask for no riches that death can destroy. I crave only thee, your love and your joy. The dancers will pass, the singing must end. I welcome the darkness with you for my friend. And so, whatever happens in this world, however people treat you, however they try to boost or destroy you, don't let it matter. You only want God. Life will pass, life will change. Everything that you enjoy and revel in today will be gone someday, and someday you will die. And it's a very good thing to consider that you will someday have to face that final exam. Every day in your meditation, feel that your death is happening right now and you're giving back to God all your attachments. Whenever you do die, you will find that there is no pain after death. There is only pain in the body. You may die of cancer or starvation or different things. But once you're free of the body, there's only bliss. There's a feeling of freedom, of release. And so meditate on that final exam and tell yourself what you really want. Do you want to go on and on in this ego of yours? You'll keep your ego after death if you do. Krishna says later in the Gita, those who worship the lower gods go to their gods. Those who worship the ancestors go to the ancestors. Those who worship me come to me. And so it is that whatever your thought is at the end of life, that will determine where you go and what your next life will be. Thus, it's very important when you die to keep that thought in your mind. And it's also very important to keep that thought when you're still living, remembering that someday you will die. So prepare for that final exam. Know that you are a child of His. And if you can get rid of that ego, mind you, ego is an element of the astral body, not of the physical body. And that in your astral body, you will keep that ego. And whether you're in Swarg or in hell, it doesn't matter. You will still have that ego until you can get rid of it yourself. So never think that this ego is something that you want to have eternally. Your ego will keep on as long as you want it to keep on. Death is eternal, hell is eternal as long as you feel that it's eternal. But if you can rise above it, then you will find that to live in this physical body, I can't imagine a worse hell than living in this body. It's not different in the astral world from this world, except that it's a subtle body, but it's the same body. And the world is basically the same. It doesn't have, if you're in heaven, you won't find ants and lizards and scorpions there. But you will have another world like this one. And there are many little different levels. The one nice thing about this world, I should say about that world, and the bad thing about this world, is that in this world you have a mixture of everything. So on this same planet you have scorpions, snakes, spiders, and so on. And you have evil people as well as good. This is what makes it a blessing to be in this world, because then you see all these obstacles and you think, I just don't want all this. And that certainly was one thing that helped me to find God. Another thing that helped, and will help you too, is to think that everything in this world is really only a dream. You are dreaming your separate reality from Him. And when you can go beyond that dream, just think of yourself, think of it this way. At night I sleep and I'm dreaming. In the daytime, is it not also a dream? I remember I had this dream many years ago in which I was flying. And I thought in this dream, well, this isn't something people do. Maybe I'm dreaming. And so using my dream logic, I tried to decide whether I was awake or asleep or dreaming. And finally, with perfect logic as far as I could tell in that dream, I decided that I was really awake. I was only doing something unusual. And what a surprise it was to wake up and find that I was dreaming after all. So this world is a dream, but we have to go beyond that dream. Tell yourself always, this world is not real. It doesn't exist as it appears to be. But in the astral world, it's more difficult to advance spiritually, especially when you reach the higher lokas, because it's so satisfying. You're mixing with devatas, everything you see is beautiful, there are no, as I said, scorpions and snakes and so on. It's all a beautiful life. And so you haven't the incentive to want to improve yourself, to want to meditate. This is why even the gods say it is a blessing to be born into the material world, because here you have all that incentive. But of course there are many levels in the astral world, and there are dark levels, and there are hellish worlds, and it's not wrong to say that hell is eternal, but it's only because it seems eternal. When you are suffering, you feel that it'll be forever. In the end, you have to come out of it because you are a child of God. And hell and Satan, they're real in their own way, but only as dreams. They're only delusions. When you go into the lower regions, there was a woman I told you about some weeks ago who she tried to commit suicide, and she failed, and she had a near-death experience. But in the interim in that near-death experience, she found herself among other suicides. She was only temporarily dead, but these were dead for a long time. And they were dressed in the style of many centuries ago even, ancient Greeks, ancient French, and so on. And she noticed one thing there before she was pulled out of that by the light to which she responded, and she came back to life. She noticed that the vibration of that loka was of rock and roll music. And she devoted the rest of her life, has devoted it, to trying to persuade people, don't enjoy that kind of music. The music you enjoy has a very strong influence on your consciousness. So go beyond all that and try to go into the astral world. And try to live in the astral world also without your ego. Try to always feel I am doing everything as an instrument of God. Then you will be able to slowly come out of ego. Joy to you.